Welcome back to Realcomm Live, day two. Better, and I don't say better than yesterday. Yesterday was jam-packed, ending with the tour and the reception and the case studies this morning. Lloyd, we've been having conversations kind of off the, outside the crowd and just kind of getting caught up. And Lloyd Webber, Halo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, because you got a fascinating background, a little bit about Halo, and then I've got a whole bunch of questions for you.
So I'm from Africa. I really enjoyed the conference because it's to see the similarities between what we've been doing in Africa and what you're doing here. And it's interesting that there are lots of similarities, but there's some differences. A little bit of, I went to school in Pretoria, which is quite famous for Elon Musk. Went to the same high school.
Oh, really?
A couple of years behind me. So, but not directly connected, but work with the
same high school.
Exactly the same high school. There's actually a number of people in America that come from exactly the same high school, in the same space.
Wow.
So maybe there was something in the water, I don't know. But
yeah, we should bring some water here.
I've always run my own company. We did laser systems across Africa. So we built communications back when I was in my 20s. We started looking at alternative energies before 2010. So just about 2005, we were already looking at these systems. 2010, I served as the technical director for the first for the FIFA World Cup that came to Africa. We've been building 7-star hotels in safari parks, so that's very popular in Africa. That's again more than 15 years ago. There's a worldwide case study with Schneider Electric on how to build a community completely independent of the grid, but also connected to the grid.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I hear you say that, it just kind of reminds me, I've done a lot of travel globally. I've spent a lot of time in places like Costa Rica that have been onto this stuff for a long time, right? Because they had to. Why do you think it is places like Africa and other parts around the world that people would not necessarily consider the most innovative? Why are they ahead on something like a DC, powered smart buildings, microgrid?
I think it comes to really no choice. I mean, if you look at currently load shedding in Africa is a big thing, especially like it has been in South Africa. People and businesses are without power for 8 and 9 hours a day.
They're without power.
They're without power. There's just no power because there's not enough power to go around, and obviously over the history, there just hasn't been enough power. So what we've had to do is come up with these solutions. Necessity is the mother of invention across everything.
That's what we found in Costa Rica.
So we found you've got a lot of natural resources, especially Africa, it's safari parks and that, and so there's a lot of money and people want to build hotels, but there's no power to support those hotels. So the only choice is, and I think that's in America, I think you've been blessed with a stable grid. But as soon as we go, and I think it's become more unstable due to climate change. Right. But in Africa, with an unstable grid, how can you run a 7-star business?
Yeah, it's funny though, because we at our big event, Realcomm, I think it was 2015, we were at the Disney Hotel in Anaheim, the center of innovation. And somebody from South Africa was there and they were checking out. And I said, what did you think? Did you see all this great innovation? And he kind of smirked a little bit and he says, well, to be honest, he goes, I wasn't all that impressed. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, good stuff, but we've been doing this stuff in South Africa forever. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, watch this. So he literally goes up to check out and he's got his phone in his hand, right? And he goes to me, his gesture, he goes like, I see him pushing a button on his phone, right? And the gal, and I could hear what was going on. She goes, I'm sorry, sir, your credit card has been declined, and he goes, and he goes, try it again. He goes, oh, my credit card's working now. I mean, he literally had complete control of his bank. I mean, we do that now, right? But this was almost 9 years ago. And it's just amazing the kind of innovation that's going on around the world that we don't know about.
Because when I first came in, just to give you quick examples, they asked me to look at Alcatraz Island. And I did a redesign for them because of the inefficiency of the microgrid. Alcatraz, as you know, is a microgrid. My job was just to give a design and a new thought to do it. There was also, I'll give you another example, California, somebody built a $200 million building with a resiliency system by local EPCs, and it completely failed.
Wow.
So we had to go in, replace it, build it, and build the EMS from scratch because they just didn't, there was a communication. Currently I'm on a project in California that's 7 large projects with state, the Samsung batteries and an inverter type, but it hasn't worked for 7 years, all of the 7 projects. And so
we can talk about sustainability and electric buildings, but what I'm hearing today, some real positive, productive case studies, right? Why do you think we're struggling a little bit in the U.S.? I mean, is it because we have a good grid? We don't have the mother or necessity to drive us.
Well, I think personally, I think your grid utilities have reached over the meter too much. We are free, and I think it's really just about countries. We are free to work behind the meter, whichever. We're not limited. Here, your inspectors and all the ULs, I think, have been a negative, because you've got big organizations, and they spoke about, it's just about financing. They don't want to lose revenue. So you think about this catch-22 they have. They say they want to do innovation and reduce the load, but reducing the load makes, it's less
I've seen that
commercially
firsthand.
viable.
I've seen that firsthand.
So that's I think is the thing. Where in Africa, we kind of, behind the meter, we're allowed to do, and as long as we comply to certain standards in terms of electrical installations and make them safe, we've been free to innovate.
Right.
I think maybe the lesson for the USA is to give corporations, people like companies that work Sinclair, give them more freedom to actually become innovative.
We also need to have an awareness, and then business owner operators that are passionate, like the people we've been seeing in these rooms, to drive this down. I mean, we got to fight this battle from the street up and then from the top down, right? So tell me a little bit about Halo, right, and how they fit into this ecosystem and your role there.
So I'm the CTO of Halo.
Okay.
I serve as CTO of a few other organizations, but Halo's asked me to serve as their CTO. I think Halo have seen the need for DC, and especially the conversion to DC, because obviously the AC conversation, but the efficiencies of DC, everything about PoE, about like what Dometic are doing, it's a no almost brainer way to move. We have to move in this direction, and what Halo is trying to do is to bring forward all the technology. But our main focus is all these systems come with different control systems.
Right.
And so to describe Halo in a short sentence, we want a single pane of glass where we can look at everything from the DC, from all the different types of systems, controls, and put it under a single pane so that we can make it more efficient, and we're not having to do, again,
Are you a solutions provider, a systems integrator?
I think Halo is still trying to find their place in terms of what we want to do. Is we're a systems integrator, but we've actually found that we've had to become in some ways a contractor, but we're trying not to be a contractor on the ground.
Right.
But we really want to be the people to help everybody bring systems together.
Right. Well, when you looked at the technical paradigm shift of, say, like mini computer to distributed PC, it created a whole new need for an integration ecosystem, because it was once one system, one vendor. All of a sudden, I've got printers and workstations and screens from different vendors. I think we're going through the same thing right now in this DC power revolution.
Again, looking a little bit back at the renewable energy space, my work in California is right now was integrating DC batteries with PCSs that were, nobody thought to really make them work together. And then as soon as you get on site, they want to see the meters, and then they want to see the solar PV. So, in fact, we're busy with that project right now, is to say, how do we bring this all together into one single control system to see everything, efficiently control everything, lose a lot of hardware because there was too much hardware on site, and then simply visualizing that in some cloud infrastructure. So that's current.
It sounds like an integrator. I mean, it sounds like you look at the big puzzle and you pull all the pieces together to make it work.
And I think what I'd like to see more is if you look in the room, people working together in an open source platform.
Exactly.
That's probably the biggest thing I would like to see, is because
I think that's probably 5 years away, would be my guess.
Yeah, we want to be able to see and work with everything, and everybody must be more collaborative. I found in Europe that people work together easier. In the USA, there was.
We're trying.
In the USA, it's like, my box is bigger than your box.
Right. We're out of time, but
Sure.
you had said earlier that you've got some videos and case studies up on your website. Can you just give us a little idea what that is?
So I've got some case studies done internationally with myself and Schneider Electric, which is how to build independent communities. But they're not small communities. They're not not little. They're high-end houses. Okay. But that's been up for many years.
Okay.
I can share it with you actually. So
Okay, very good.
That's even before the lithium-ion technology.
So the best way for people to get in touch with you is just go to Halo's website.
Correct,
And they'll
and then
find
just
you there.
find me then.
Okay, thank you so much for
Sure.
being here and bringing your global expertise and perspective.
I appreciate it.
I've traveled a lot globally, and sometimes it's hard to get people to look outside the boundaries a little bit, but we need to. So.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You for your time. It's been
Wow.
great.